How's it going, my friend? We're going to talk about what to do when someone hurts you. Now, this is a very important topic because obviously you're here because you're hurting. It does not feel good. You probably feel terrible. You probably feel heartbroken. You probably feel like there's nothing you can really do right now to make the pain go away. But I'm going to help you because I'm going to help you make that pain go away. I'm going to show you that there's a solution. My name is Dr. Wasi, your life coach and business coach, and let's dive right in. So, I've been hurt by people many times. I'm sure you have too, okay? There's a few layers to this that I want to unpack, but I'm going to first start by saying the best thing you can do, the first thing you can do when you really feel hurt is to look back at yourself and see how much responsibility can you take for what has happened. Okay, so let's say there was a fight, an argument, someone disrespected you, someone ghosted you, someone cut you out of their life, someone spoke rudely to you, someone gossiped about you, someone said something really mean to your face, whatever it is, okay? Just take that situation and then first just ask yourself how, in what way you could possibly be responsible for that happening. I'm not saying you have to accept responsibility fully right now. I'm not going to ask you to do that right now, especially if you're in pain. But I'm going to ask you to first look internally, look inward. Ask yourself, is there anything that I did or that I had going on in my brain? Were there any feelings I had going on in my body that could have possibly led to this scenario happening? That could have possibly led to this person doing something that hurt me? Is there something I had going on within me about this person already that could have led to them reacting the way they did that eventually I felt hurt by? This is really powerful. Most of you are not going to want to do this work. You're not going to admit it because it's so much easier to play the victim game. Always going to be easier, but we don't want to be victims. We're not victims, right? It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to process the pain, but you don't want to stay in victimhood. That's not what we want to be as men, right? And so what you want to decide is, okay, I'm going to choose to look for ways and look for things that could show me how I could have prevented this or how I may have caused this in some way, okay? That's number one. Doing this will be difficult, but if you do it, even if there's one thing you can think of, it'll actually bring you a lot of peace. It'll allow you to kind of settle in to the pain and not have so much resistance about it. It'll allow you to take a deep breath and be willing to move on more with your life. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing you want to do is you want to ask yourself, okay, now what do I want to do about this thing? Okay, now that this thing has happened. So many times we overthink situations. And what happens is we overthink and we take way too much time overthinking or letting a situation slip by that really hurt us without taking any action about it, all right? So you want to decide, do I want to have a conversation with this person about what happened? Okay, I'm going to give you exactly how to determine that because the answer isn't always to just go have a conversation with the person that this happened with. That's not always going to be the best solution. And I've been in so many situations where sometimes that was the best solution and sometimes it wasn't, okay? And so I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. Here's the thing. The reason why it's important for you to take quick action, when I say quick, I don't mean while you're still angry or frustrated or feeling really hurt. I mean quickly enough, and you'll know what that is. You can use your intuition to gauge that. Usually, for some of you, it can be within minutes. Some of you, it could be within hours. For some, it might be the next day. For some, it might be the next week, right? Usually, typically, it shouldn't be more than a few days later. If it's more than a few days later, what happens then is that the momentum of the negativity and the memory of it just grows so strong, or it becomes so awkward for you to talk to that person that you say, oh, it's too late now, what's the point? What ends up happening though is then that you'll hold on to that painful memory and they might also, and then it builds into resentment and grudges and so on and so forth. And you don't want that to happen, okay? That's not who you want to be. And so you want to make a decision to do something about it. Give yourself some time to sit and process with the emotions, okay? So I'm actually going to say that as the next step, right? Before we get into the decision, give yourself some time to process the emotion, all right? I think a lot of times as men, we are told to just take action and do something, but I really do want to stop here, and I'm glad I reminded myself of this because it's such an important tool I use in coaching, is to allow yourself to process the emotion, okay? What does that mean? Processing emotion. It means allow yourself to feel it. If you feel pain, if you feel heartbreak, allow yourself to feel that fucking pain, right? If you need to cry, cry. If you need to sob, sob, right? If you need to call a friend or someone and let them know you're having a really bad day, you feel horrible, say it. Even to yourself, saying, I feel terrible. Man, that sucked. Saying it to yourself allows you to actually release that emotion, which is the next part of processing, right? So processing is feeling it and then releasing it. So by acknowledging it, we're actually able to release it. Some of you may want to journal, right? You may love journaling, and so you might want, and even if you haven't journaled, you can write out how you feel, right? And you can write out all the nasty things, all the negative things you want to write out, right? No one's gonna monitor it. Just everything that you're currently thinking and feeling, just put it onto paper. Let it out, release it, right? Some people will go to a car in an empty parking lot and just scream, right? Their loudest to get all the pain, get all the anger out, get all the hurt out, right? Do whatever you need to do to process that pain, release it. Some of you may just want to sit with it. You may just want to be sad. You might just be a little down for a couple of days, and that's fine, okay? Worst thing you can do, I think sometimes, is to try to rush it, right? To not fully process the pain and then just try to change how you're feeling too quickly, too fast. And what happens usually in those cases is that it backfires on you, because then that pain will resurface again at a later time, unexpectedly. And you may have thought you already dealt with it, but you really didn't, okay? That's why it's important to process, release the pain. Now, back to the stuff I was talking about, is then you want to make a decision. What am I going to do? What am I going to do about this now? So usually it involves a person or a group of people. So you want to decide, do I want to have a conversation with this person, and why? First, think about the end goal, okay? Think about the person who you have in mind and think about the end goal. What is the end goal? Is it because I want to improve our current relationship? Is it because I want us to clear the air? I want to hear their side. I want them to hear my side. I want an apology from them. I'm going to ask them for an apology. I'm going to request one, and I'm okay if they request one from me, right? I want our relationship to be improved. I want us to communicate, see if we can get through this, and then move to the other side of it. Maybe strengthen our relationship. And this doesn't just apply to a romantic relationship, guys. This applies to family relationships. It could be your mother, it could be your father, your siblings, coworkers, best friends, but it can also be your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, anything, okay? Apply this to any relationship in your life. So really ask yourself, what's the end goal? Sometimes the end goal is, I just want to get everything off my chest. I just want to let this person know how much I was hurt, how shocked I was, and how incredibly surprised I am, how I never thought they would do that to me. And I have to get that off my chest. I need to let them know how that made me feel. Because doing that, for me, is releasing the emotion once and for all. I need to let them know how to do that. You want to be careful with that, because sometimes when you have a lot of pent-up anger from hurt, when we say it, the way we say it makes a very big difference in how the person's going to receive it. You know, for example, I can say, you really fucking pissed me off, you know? Or I can say, I felt really hurt by what you said, you know? And so see, those two ways of saying something will be very different in how the person will receive it. The emotion, the authenticity, the truth, the honesty of what I have to say, how I felt is the same in both, right? But how I'm expressing it in both scenarios is very different. And so the person receiving it may not receive it as nicely in the first example that I gave, okay? So you want to get crystal clear about that. You want to get crystal clear about why you want to do it. And it's okay, whatever the reason is. If the reason isn't to make the relationship better, if the reason is, I just want to let this person know that I feel hurt so I can finally move on, let that be your reason. That's a good reason, okay? Don't let anyone tell you it's not a good reason. If that's what you need to feel better and move on, do that, okay? But if it's to improve the relationship, do that as well, right? Now, there may be some relationships you have where someone who you've had this interaction with, who you feel hurt by, may have done this the 10th time, the 100th time. Maybe it's a pattern. Maybe this has been going on for years, okay? Or maybe this has happened a few times. And every single time you forgave and you forgot, you forgave and you forgot, or you let go. Or you were the one to apologize to them, but the bad behavior continued, the disrespect continued, right? And so you may reach a point this time when you say, you know what? There's no point talking to them. Like I already know what's going to happen. You know, I'm going to try to clear the air with them. They're going to get annoyed that I want to have a talk. They're not going to admit to anything that they did. They're not going to want to hear that I feel hurt by them and by what they said or did. And so I'm gonna have this conversation with a person who's like a dead end wall, one sided, and I'm gonna actually feel worse after the conversation than I did even before. Okay? And so that happens rarely. In most situations, I feel like most people, when you have a conversation with them, I prefer to do it in person. If you can. If you can't, do it on video. If you can't be with that person, do it on a video call. Face to face is so important. Facial expression, seeing the person's face is so important because it's so easy to mess up and confuse tonality when you're talking to someone on the phone, right? But if you can't do that, if that's too much, too awkward, do it on the phone. If you can't do the phone, do text. I highly recommend not to do it through text. I know many of you guys do. I highly recommend not to, but it's better than not doing it at all, okay? So if you gotta do it through text, do it through text. It's better than not doing it at all. But it's important for you to realize, do you want to do this? Do you want to have a conversation with this person? What is that conversation going to be about? I've been in situations where, again, the same thing kept happening over and over again. I've already had this conversation with someone that, hey, this thing that you do really makes me feel disrespected. I really get angered by it. I feel hurt by it. I don't feel good. I don't feel loved. And I would never do that to you. And if I did, I would apologize. I don't understand why this is happening over and over again, And so I could explain that to this person a million times. But then if I go and try to explain to them for the millionth and first time, again, one more time, right? You have to question yourself, why? Is anything going to change? Are you doing it at that point just for yourself, just for your own ego? Like, what is it that you're wanting from this person? Because some people may never apologize. Some people may never want to apologize, even if they know they're wrong. Even if someone knows they're wrong, they may never apologize. I've been brought up to apologize very easily and quickly. Me and my sister actually talk about this a lot, how, we're very quick to just apologize. If we find out someone got hurt or if someone feels hurt or upset or something by us, we'll just quickly apologize. That's how we were kind of raised by my mom, right? And there's a whole different side of that, which is people pleasing, which I'll get to later, if not in this video, in another video. But that's an extreme also that you don't want to go to, right? People pleasing is a very dangerous place. I've been there, and it can be very, damaging. Extremely damaging, right? And so we'll get there in another time. But for now, I want to talk about how usually I'm the type of person who just likes to apologize, and hopefully the other person will apologize too, and we'll both make up and move on, right? But sometimes that doesn't happen. I'll be the only one apologizing, and the other person will just kind of be sitting there like, yeah, you fucked up. I did nothing wrong. And you have to be prepared, because if you're dealing with someone who you think is like that, I'm not going to put labels here, but if you think someone is like that, then you probably don't want to have the conversation with them. If you feel like you're going to end up feeling worse after the conversation, then don't. Also, I do want to say a caveat to this is you may want to do it if you think someone's like that to prove to yourself once and for all that they are like that, right? So I had an interaction once with someone where I was really hurt by them, very extremely hurt. I was in a lot of pain, okay? And so I kept contemplating whether I should have this conversation with this person, because in the past, whenever I did about something, it never went well, right? They could just never admit their mistake. They could never apologize, ever. I would find myself apologizing, and that's when people throw their term in like, they were a narcissist or they were gaslighting me. I don't like to use a lot of those terms a lot. I don't like to label people as narcissists, but I do think that, of course, people can behave in narcissistic ways, for sure, right? And we can get to that another time as well. But in that situation, what was happening was I realized, I can have this conversation with this person one more time and again come out feeling worse, or I can finally have this conversation with this person once and for all, finally give them the benefit of the doubt and see one more time. If after I express myself to them, if they still cannot take any responsibility for their actions, for their behavior, for what they say, what they do, what they don't do, right? If they, again, blame it on me, if they make it seem like I'm the bad one, I'm the crazy one, I got my answer, right? I got my answer. Now I know this is who they are, for now at least, and this is who I am. And now, do I want to move forward with that relationship? Do I want to keep investing in that relationship? And if the answer is no, be honest with yourself, right? So it can be a very freeing thing to decide to have a conversation with them. Sometimes, like I said, you've already had certain conversations where you let this person know, hey, I'm hurt by this, and nothing's really changed, okay? And at that point, you may decide it's just not worth it. And so in those situations, it may just be better to walk away, okay? I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit, what that looks like, okay? But let's say you do decide to talk to someone. One of the hardest things to do when you're talking to someone about something you feel really hurt by, emotionally charged by, it's natural to feel angry. It's natural to feel like you're in fight or flight when you're talking about something that makes you so emotionally charged up, right? So don't think anything's gone wrong, but try to do some breath work. Literally, take some deep breaths. Even when you're thinking about it before you have the conversation, schedule a time to talk to them. Before you talk to them, do some breath work. And what I want you to do is actually go to a place, a future version of you, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a future self version of you that's super calm in all situations. Like, just think of your highest self 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How would that version of you as a man, how would he be in a conversation like this? How cool and calm and collected and strong would he be, right? Would he get swayed away by what the other person says? Would he be super reactive? Or would he be more stoic and calm, be able to express his opinion from a place of strength, but not reactivity, okay? And so I want you to step into being that version of yourself as much as you can. As you go into this conversation, take those deep breaths and then literally from a calm place, express what you're gonna express. Now, what can happen is that the conversation might get heated. And if it does, and this has happened to me before, where I can see that the other person's starting to get irritated, right? You wanna be the one to quickly diffuse the situation. Don't rely on them to diffuse it, because what can happen? Again, it can end up turning into, again, a horrible fighting match, which defeats the whole purpose of you wanting to talk to them to resolve things, right? You'll just end up creating another fight. And so you want to take responsibility and ownership. If you're the one who was initiated wanting to talk to them again, you want to be the director of that ship. You want to be the director of that conversation. So you want to diffuse it. And if they start to get mad, apologize right away, right? Don't put your ego in it. Put your ego aside. We have a mission. We have something to accomplish at the end of this conversation, right? So keep your eye on the prize. Say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry. Didn't mean that. I take that back, right? What I'm trying to say is, right, and then go from a different angle, right? Like approach the situation from a different place. Don't keep talking about that same thing that may be triggering them. Okay, I've had to do this. I've had this happen to me with people who, were like literally wanting to get up and leave, or wanting to, hang up or turn off the video call. And I diffused the situation very well by redirecting their focus, right? I knew what was triggering them. And so instead of adding more fuel to the fire, I was able to diffuse it, right? So we can actually have a conversation, talk about it. Once they're calm, and then you also take some deep breaths, you can calmly mention again, right? And it's how you say it. When you're having this conversation with someone, you want to let them know, hey, this is how I felt because of this reason. This is where I was coming from, right? Some really good words to use, phrases to use is, hey, I don't know if this is true, but the story I told myself in my mind was you did this, then this happened, and this happened, and that happened, and I texted you, and I called you, and I didn't hear back from you. And that's a story that my brain made up, And I felt really hurt by it. And I don't know if it's true or not. That's why I wanted to ask you. I thought it would be best for me to just come to you directly instead of assuming things, to ask you, like, is the story that I came up with true? Is there some truth to that? Were you upset? Did you do that stuff on purpose? That's a very mature, strong way of approaching someone, using the phrase, my brain came up with the story I told myself based on these things I was noticing, right? And also, instead of saying the phrase, you did this, you hurt me, instead of saying that, you could say, I felt hurt when you said this. Or I felt hurt when you cut me out and didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. I felt hurt when you disappeared. I felt hurt because you told me you'd always be there, and the next thing I know, I called you 10 times and you decided just to cut me out of your life, right? So you can, and even that, just the way I said that, right? Like, you decided to cut me out of your life. That may be too dramatic of a phrase, right? Maybe too dramatic of a phrase to say. They may not want to hear that. So let me rephrase that, right? If I'm actually talking to someone, I might want to say, I felt hurt because I called you 10 times, but I don't think you ever called me back, right? And so it's a much better way of them receiving what you're trying to say, right? It's even like little words like that, you can change around. And the goal isn't to walk on eggshells. If you have to walk on so many eggshells to not piss someone off, that relationship isn't worth it. It ain't fucking worth it, all right? It just isn't. Sorry to say it, but it isn't. Some of you guys need to hear that. Okay? If you find yourself having to tiptoe every fucking word because it's going to piss this person off, that person doesn't need to be in your life. There are plenty of people, amazing people, beautiful people who deserve to be in your life, who you deserve to have in your life. And that person's not one of them. It doesn't mean we have to hate them. It doesn't mean we have to be mad at them. It doesn't mean we have to take revenge or war on them. We can just leave them alone. Let them do their thing. Say goodbye. Right? If they want to come back into your life in a different phase, different season, if you want to welcome them, do great. Do it. If you don't. Right? But that's another lesson. Like, if you feel like you're having to be too cautious with every little thing you say to this person in a conversation, that's a huge red flag. That this person is just not at your level. Okay? They're just not. They're not at your level. You're here, they're here. And I don't mean at a soul level. At a soul level, I believe we're all equal, right? We're all fucking equal at a soul level. We're all 100% worthy. We all came from the same place. But you may be 10 steps ahead of them in your maturity, in your communication skills, in your ability to forgive, in your ability to see both perspectives. They may not be there yet, and they may never get there. But you know what? That's their journey. That's their life. And I know how painful it can be because sometimes you may want to really, really help them. I know, I've been there. You may really want to help these people who you feel like, no, but, they showed me this amazing side to them. And so I know that all the other asshole sides of them and the mean, rude, bitchy sides of them, I know that's a part of them, but they showed me this amazing side of them. And your brain's going to keep justifying why they're not as bad and that you should continue to put up with the crappy treatment and disrespect and the hurt, right? Because you've seen the good and you want more of the good. But guess what? They've also shown you some of the bad. And if the bad is not tolerable for you, it doesn't matter how fucking good the good is. It doesn't matter. It does not matter, right? If the bad is affecting your mental health, if it's affecting your life continuously over and over and over and over again, why would you fucking settle for breadcrumbs? Why? I'm going to give you a little breadcrumb of niceness once a month. And the rest of the month, I'm going to be a fucking bitch or an asshole. Really? Really? Because just realize that you're settling for that. Realize that you're literally telling the universe, that's what I deserve as a person. Okay? So realize when that is happening. Okay? And I brought this up, get charged up talking about this because I've gone through this so many times myself and I've helped so many clients and friends with this topic myself, and I've had to help them literally get out of these situations. I've had to help myself get out of these kind of situations, right? And so that was all about the conversation itself that you have with these people, okay? Now, again, like I was saying earlier, and I got charged up here, but when you're having the conversation, you want to be calm, you want to be mature, right? You want to be as calm as possible. I know that's not always easy, but try your best because you want to keep the end goal in mind. The end goal is to improve the relationship or just get something off your chest so you can move on. Either way, you want it to be a calm conversation, okay? You want it to be a conversation that comes from a place of maturity and strength, right? In my opinion, that's going to be calm, right? We're not trying to go in for a wrestling match, right? So just remember that. Now, if the person tells you things during the conversation that make you upset, or if they don't apologize, or if you don't achieve the end result, the end goal, don't keep trying to convince them that they're wrong, right? If you literally let them know, like, hey, this really hurt me, I felt really hurt by it, etc., and, I feel really bad, and they don't apologize, you might be tempted to ask them, like, I'd love an apology for that because I felt really disrespected and hurt by that, I apologize for my end of it, but I'd also like an apology from you to know that you understand how I felt. And if they don't, if they're like, nope, I'm not going to apologize, or I don't want to apologize, then listen to them. Respect them at that point. They don't want to fucking apologize to you. You may think they're wrong. I may agree with you. I may think they're being wrong too. I may think that they should apologize with you. But guess what? It doesn't matter what me and you think at that point. They're showing you who they are. They're showing you who they want to be in that moment. They're showing you that they don't want to apologize. Right? Maybe they are narcissistic. Maybe they have an ego. Maybe they genuinely believe they did nothing wrong. Whatever it is, they're showing you in that moment who they are. So don't then keep begging for an apology. Because I've seen this happen so many times where you get stuck. No. I apologize to you now. Where's my apology? And they're like, listen, you're the one who wanted to approach me and talk about what just happened. And now you're forcing me to apologize to you, right? You can't do that. Right? Because then, again, you lose that whole conversation. You went in for a mission to achieve something, and now it's just backfiring on you. So it might be painful as fuck to once again not get an apology from them when you approach them again. It really will be. But I'm telling you, it will set you free because now you know. Now you know how this person handles situations. Now you know going forward in the future if you want this person to be a close part of your life or not. Because if they're not able to handle conflicts with you at that level, if they don't have the same level of understanding you do, if they're not willing to give as much as you give, is that someone you really want close in your life? You know the answer to that question, okay? The last thing I want to say is about the actual conversation is you always want to end off on a peaceful note, okay? So in the beginning of the conversation, if I didn't talk about that, start off with some small talk. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? Etc. I know it's hard sometimes to do that if you're already pissed at someone. Try to keep it lighthearted. And the last few minutes, keep it lighthearted again, right? Like, oh, so what about that? Like, oh, wait, didn't you, weren't you going to play that game tournament on Saturday? Or, wait, aren't you doing that thing? Oh, yeah, I saw something on social media. Or wait, you're going on a trip next month, right? Anything, right? Anything random, bring it up genuinely, end the conversation on a peaceful note. And then say your goodbye. That may be the last fucking conversation you have with that motherfucker, right? That may be the last conversation you ever have with them, or it might be the first of many more beautiful conversations because you grow into a beautiful relationship with them. The relationship gets deeper, you guys clear the air, you guys have a better understanding, okay? So hopefully what happens is that you come out of this conversation feeling better, your relationship with that person is renewed. Okay. Sometimes what happens when these conversations come up is there's an aftershock. Like, you know how they're in earthquakes, there's the major earthquake and there's aftershocks, the little aftershocks. After a huge conversation like this where both people are very vulnerable and honest with each other, they may leave the conversation and then there may be thoughts that come up in your brain like, oh shit, why did you say this? Or wait, they actually said that? I don't like that they said that. So I think I need to go back and clear that up now, right? You may have different lingering things that come up now because of the original conversation you had. Okay. If that's the case, again, do the same thing. Quickly, same day, next day, get them in person, call them, text them, whatever, like, hey, this, right? Get it off your chest. And again, if it's a relationship worth having in your life, they'll be able to say and do the right thing meaning what's going to keep the relationship going forward strongly, right? And if they're not meant to be in your life, they're not going to respond in a positive way. And again, you'll have your answer, okay? So, when you feel like it's not worth it to talk to someone, it can be extremely challenging. But that's when you have to decide what your relationship is going to be like going forward, okay? This is where boundaries come in. I'm going to do a whole different episode on this. But, boundaries is really you deciding how much you're going to let someone into your life, what you're going to tolerate, not tolerate. It doesn't mean fighting anyone. You don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. You don't have to raise your voice. That's not what setting boundaries is. Setting boundaries is letting someone honestly know, like, hey, if this happens, I'm not going to talk to you any longer. If this happens, I'm going to leave the room. If this happens, I may not want to be friends with you. I may not want to be in this relationship with you, right? It's just being very direct about it from a place of love, right? It sounds contradictory. How can you put a boundary from a place of love? That's actually the most loving thing you can do in many cases. If you truly have love for yourself and the other person, you want to have a healthy relationship with them, setting boundaries can be one of the healthiest things you can do. Okay? And so if you choose not to have a conversation with this person because you feel like it's not going to go the way you want it to, that's when you got to take a step back, establish the boundaries for yourself. And a layer of that, what that really means also is deciding what kind of category you're going to put this person in. So maybe you have this person in I have different categories, right? Like a social structure, a hierarchy in my brain. You can have like a circle, like you have an inner circle. So, in the very middle is you and God or the universe or source, right? And then maybe on the outside of it, it's like your immediate family, maybe your mom or someone. Outside of that, maybe someone else, maybe like your best friend outside of that. Or if you have a spouse or girlfriend, boyfriend, right? And so you can have that. You can have like a tier system, a category system, have something fun in your brain just for fun, right? But it actually has functionality in your life, right? You want to use this as much as you can. Not to be really calculated and robotic with your relationships. I don't function that way at all, but it helps you kind of sort things out in your brain mentally, and it does actually help you facilitate much healthier relationships. So for example, if I had someone in my category 1, like they're my ride or die, but then there's someone I know I can't have a conversation with because I know it's not going to go well. Immediately, I know in my mind, they're not supposed to be in category 1. I put them in category 1, right? I wanted them to be in category 1. I saw the best in them, right? I thought I had found the one. But they've also shown me who they are. And I've seen what I bring out in them, which is probably not the best, right? And they bring out probably not the best in me. And so it's probably not the best match right now. And that's okay, okay? So instead of being really upset about it, I can put them down into category 2. or 3 or 4 or 5. And what that means is the different categories, you'll have different expectations, right? A lot of times we hear have 0 expectations from people, right? Have no expectations, you'll never get hurt. Listen, I agree, right? Try to have as least expectations as possible. I agree with that. But it's okay to have expectations. In fact, I think it's impossible to not have certain expectations from some people. You will have certain expectations from some people. You just will. You just have to decide who you want to have expectations from, okay? So if you put someone in category 1, probably have a lot of expectations from them. But if you drop them down to 3 or 4 or 5, and it could be a temporary drop, just to kind of see, like, I'm going to give them some time, in a couple of weeks, months, whatever, they come back and they want to reunite or they want to rekindle things, great. I'll consider if I want to promote them up, in the categories. And if they don't, totally fine. They're going to be down here, which means I have less expectations. If someone's in category 5, I'm not really going out of my way to call them. I'm not going out of my way to text them. They're not the first person I'm calling to share good news or bad news, If I see it's their birthday on Facebook or Remember, I might shoot them a text. We're not enemies. We might say hi, hello. If we see each other somewhere, we'll be cordial. But that's pretty much it, right? That's kind of where we are right now. That's kind of where we're floating. And that's a happy medium. That's a good place for me to be. Now, you're going to feel a void there because that person's not in category 1 anymore, which means now you get to do the work of filling that up, right? You want to fill up your cup first, right? You want to give that love back to yourself. And then you want to go out into the world and make yourself available to letting more people into your life who will be best fits for you to be in your category 1. Okay, and we'll discuss all of that in lots of future episodes. I know this video's already gone pretty long, but it's really amazing because I know hopefully it's helping you. And so really the point of this one was to help you get over the pain and help you get out of the pain, what to do with it. And the reason why I've emphasized taking action and talking to this person or choosing not to talk to them is because when you make decisions, that is when all your power is released. Okay? And so by not making decisions, by being an indecision, you are powerless. You will feel weaker and weaker. You will feel miserable. You'll feel despair. Okay? And you don't want to feel those negative emotions for too long. It's okay to feel any negative emotion. We all will. But you don't want to stay there unnecessarily. You don't want to unnecessarily suffer if you don't have to. Okay? And so that is my goal for you. So just to kind of recap this whole thing, you feel the pain, right? You feel hurt by someone, you feel disrespected. And so that has happened. First thing you want to do is you want to ask yourself, how can I take responsibility for everything that just happened? Like, what did I attract this? Did I cause this? Was it something that was going to end up happening anyway? Was I thinking about it and I ended up manifesting it? What is it? How can I take responsibility, right? That in and of itself will give you a sense of peace and make you feel much stronger and much more in control, right? We don't want to be victims here. Second thing is processing and releasing the emotions. You want to process the emotion. You want to allow yourself to feel it for as long as you need to. Then you want to release it, okay? And this can happen simultaneously with then deciding that you're going to have a conversation with this person or you're not, okay? And when you decide that, keeping the end goal in mind. That'll determine why you want to have the conversation with them or not, okay? You had a conversation with them based on the tips I gave you, okay? Phrase things correctly. Then you accept the result. You accept the end result of that conversation, whether you got what you wanted from it or you didn't. And you walk away a stronger, better man who has learned lessons in life, who is more equipped now with the skills to deal with future relationships in a much healthier, better way, so you can cultivate much more loving relationships in the future, much deeper relationships in the future, and relationships that are better for you, okay? By doing this, by going through the pain of everything that I just walked you through, by going through the challenge of that and how awkward it may be for you, you are actually becoming the best version of yourself as a man. You are doing what most people will never do, right? You are becoming the 1%. You're becoming the highest version of yourself. And so I implore you to do that. I implore you to do the hard work now. So if you don't do the hard work now, when these situations come up, trust me, they're going to haunt you forever. And the same problems, the same shit's going to show up with someone else in your life. It's a different person, same story. And y'all comment, let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Where you think it was that person and then, the next person shows up. You're like, my ex was like this. And the next person you're dating is the same way, Or it could be one of your siblings, or it could be a coworker, it could be a friend or whatever, right? Same shit's going to happen over and over and over again until you really do this work, until you stop and do this work, okay? So I hope that was helpful. And the last thing I want to leave you with, the last tip I want to leave you with is I want you to then take your energy and take your mind off of the conflict, right? Once you've chosen even to have a conversation with them, let's say you decided, don't just spend let's say it's 2 days away. Don't spend the next 2 days just thinking about it, right? Distract yourself. Do things and think things that make you feel good, that make you feel better. You don't have to be jumping up with joy if you can't. You don't have to be, doing cartwheels and being the happiest guy in the world, but do something that makes you just feel slightly better, okay? If you're feeling complete despair, feeling revenge is actually slightly better, right? I'm not saying it's an emotion you should go to, but it's slightly better, right? If you're feeling revenge, feeling neutral is slightly better, right? Even though neutral is probably not where you want to be, but it's slightly better. If you're feeling neutral, feeling hopeful is slightly better, right? So you see there's a ladder of emotion, there's an emotional scale here. And so what you want to do is you want to continue to try to feel better as much as you can, okay? Till you get to the more positive emotion. So for me, it's listening to music, it's watching movies, like shows that I really love that put me in that exciting stage or phase. Like I see my life as a fun movie scene, like a fun movie, right? A blockbuster epic movie. I'm the hero of it. I'm the superstar of the movie. I get to create it. And so I get really inspired by that. I like play with my mind, my imagination, my head, come up with different scenarios, right? I just make life really, really fun. Even in conflicts like that happen. Even in times where I feel really hurt, right? I get to be the lead character of my movie, of my story. So it's like, ooh, what am I gonna do next? What's the next scene gonna be, right? How am I gonna come out of this stronger, more powerful, more positive, more loving, more amazing, right? The best version of myself. And so you want to do things. Talk to friends. Go out. Talk to people, right? You don't have anyone to talk to. Find someone. Talk to one person you haven't talked to in a while. Text them or call them. Be like, hey, can I share something with you? I just need to vent, right? Go on an online platform and be anonymous and pour your heart out in a chat room or something, right? Do things that you don't normally do. Anything that will make you feel slightly better, okay? Working out's always a great one. Go for an outdoor walk for 10, 15 minutes, right? Just get down on the floor, do 5 push-ups, anything, right? If you're in the middle of it or even after you've had the conversation and it didn't go your way, continue doing these things, right? This is just coaching for your whole life. Like always, at any time, any moment, you're feeling pain of some sort. You want to think or do something differently that will make you feel better. That's it, right? The more and more you can do that, the better and better it gets. And the better and better it gets, the better and better it gets. All right? So I hope this was helpful. If it was, comment down below. Let me know. If you like more content like this, let me know what you'd like me to make a video on for you. Of course, please like and subscribe to my channel and comment. Let me know. Have you been in a situation where you felt really hurt by someone? And what have you done or what do you want to do to resolve that? Do you want to have a conversation with this person? Do you not want to have a conversation with this person? Comment below and let me know. Is anything in this video I said helpful to you? Did it click with you? Did you feel it? Did you feel like you could relate to it? Any advice that you want to give someone else based on your experiences? I'd love to hear from you. Comment below, and I will see you in the next video. And remember, like I always say, you are never alone in this journey of life. I'm always here with you, always, always. So never forget that. Love you so much. See you in the next video.